welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and these are 10 cards that I think desperately need a reprint. And this is not something I normally do on my channel, but I'm doing it here now for a couple of reasons. First of all, one of the cards I actually wanted reprinted was reprinted recently in March of the Machines Aftermath Training Grounds, so check that one off the list. There's a whole bunch more I think that desperately need to be reprinted for the Commander format, and we are getting Commander Masters out in a couple of months here, and that seems like a great opportunity to reprint some of these Commander staples. As we've already seen, we're getting a couple of great reprints in Personal Tutor and Jeweled Lotus. Of course, Jeweled Lotus is one of those cards that could probably go in any Commander deck. Personal Tutor is a pretty great one. Interesting choice they made there reprinting this, originally from Portal, so this is a really old card and an expensive one too. It's great to see them reprinting a card like this. I actually really like this card because it is a powered down version of Mystical Tutor, where it's at sorcery speed and you can only get a sorcery with it. You can't get an instant, so I really like it that way. Also a card that has never been reprinted before, and that's what I'm talking about in this list. These are cards that have never been reprinted, and it's really shocking to me that at no point have they ever thought to reprint these cards. And of course, because they're Commander staples, a Commander Masters set is the perfect opportunity to reprint them, I think. So cross your fingers. Let's start out at number 10 with Revel in Riches. 4 and a black enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a treasure token. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. So of course, this has sort of become a Commander staple, I guess. It was used a little bit back in the day when this card first came out in the Commander format. I saw it from time to time. Of course, it came out in Ixalan, which was the set that introduced treasures. So of course, treasures weren't played that much in the format, but people still tried to use this as sort of an alt win con. Now, of course, treasures are everywhere, and this is a much more viable card. Has never been reprinted, I guess, unless you include the mystery booster version, and I'm not including that in that list, right? Special printings like that, like the mystery boosters or the list, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about cards actually being reprinted in a set. And this has never been reprinted in another set. I think I could definitely use a reprint. Getting to number 9, a personal favorite of mine, Steely Resolve. 1 and a green enchantment. As Steely Resolve enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type have Shroud. Of course, a fantastic include in a lot of different tribal decks in green. I guess there are some situations where you might not want to play it because it does give Shroud, which means you can't target your own stuff. But I really like this card a lot. It's a fantastic include in a lot of different decks, and has never been reprinted, and I think it would be a neat fit in a Commander Masters set. Great include as a reprint. Getting to number 8, Parsons Grass. Talk about a Commander staple. 1 black sorcery. Search target opponent's library for a card and exile it face down. Then that player shuffles. You may look at and play that card for as long as it remains exiled. This card's been played in the Commander format since forever and is pretty neat in a couple of different ways. Obviously, you can search your opponent's library for just a really great card and play it. It's particularly good if you want to solve a problem, right? Because you can search your opponent's library for a removal spell if you want to get something off the table. This card has shockingly never been reprinted, I guess, except unless you include the Secret Lair drop. And again, I'm not really including that. I don't really consider that as a reprint. The Secret Lair drops or the Judge gift cards, stuff like that, they're so rare. I guess technically it is a reprint, but I'm not really including that here. This has never actually been reprinted in a set, and a Commander set would be a great opportunity for that. Coming in at number 7, Illusionist Bracers. 2 mana artifact equipment. Whenever an ability equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy and has equipped 3. So obviously this is just a fantastic include in any Commander deck that you have a Commander with an activated ability, and when you activate it, you'll get to activate it an additional time. So it's just so easily slots into a lot of those decks, and for that reason, of course, it is used a lot in the Commander format, and shockingly, this card has never been reprinted. Now, it's not super expensive, but it seems like a really nice card to reprint in a Commander set because it's one of those cards that you could very easily use with so many different Commanders. I would imagine this card is probably underplayed in the format. Maybe I should give this guy a mention on one of my 5 cards videos, because this card can just give you an incredible amount of value with so many different Commanders. There's a whole lot of Commanders out there with activated abilities, and it just seems really easy to slot this into your deck to get a double up of what your Commander is doing. Would love to see a reprint of this guy. Coming in at number 5, another card that I'm shocked has never been reprinted. And again, from Ixalan, or I guess rivals of Ixalan, when treasures first sort of were invented. Pitiless Plunderer, 3 and a black, human pirate, 1/4. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. Of course, a very, very important card in a whole lot of decks. It works in the treasure token theme. It also works in the aristocrats theme, or just creatures dying in general. So many decks that it fits nicely into, and of course has never been reprinted, despite the fact that it's only in uncommon. It's like a $10 card. This just seems like one of those cards where, okay, as soon as you guys printed this card, it became a Commander staple, so why wouldn't you print it in a Commander set? This card's been around for quite a while now. I can't believe it has never been reprinted. It definitely needs one. Getting to number 4, Terror of the Peaks. 3 red, dragon 5/4 with flying. Spells your opponents cast that target Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life to cast. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So of course, as soon as this card came out, it became a Commander staple. Warstorm Surge was the Commander staple for the longest time. Of course, still is. This gets reprinted in Commander sets all the time, right? Warstorm Surge has been reprinted a bunch in Commander sets. Commander 2013, Commander 2015, Commander Anthology, just got reprinted in Baldur's Gate. Terror of the Peaks, of course, sort of replaced it. I mean, it's another option, but it's a better option, right? Not only is it a 5/4 flying creature, which is great, also is a dragon, so it fits really easily into all those dragon tribal decks. But of course, it's also cheaper as well. So a lot of people prefer this option. And so for that reason, of course, this card is really expensive. And luckily, when they came out with it, they knew it was going to be used a lot in Commander. So they sort of printed alternate versions, which makes it a little less expensive. It's still pretty expensive though. So it absolutely needs a reprint, and Commander Masters, I think, is a great option for doing that. Coming in at number 3, another Commander staple that is just shocking has never been reprinted, Bloodchief Ascension. 1 black mana enchantment at the beginning of your end step. If an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you put a quest counter on Bloodchief Ascension. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if Bloodchief Ascension has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life. If you do, you gain 2 life. So of course, this has been played in the Commander format since forever. It's just one of those cards you could put in any deck, and it's going to be fantastic. You don't have to build around this at all, right? The beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, heck, they usually do that to themselves, right? All someone has to do is pay life to do something, and they're probably going to be putting a counter on this. It's really easy, as I'm sure most Commander players have seen, to get 3 counters on this guy, and then it really goes to town fast. It obviously works extra good in a deck where you're maybe draining your opponent's life, like a Mogus deck, or you want to be gaining life, right? Any black-white deck, for example, that wants life gain triggers, this is fantastic. A card going into opponent's graveyard from anywhere, obviously that is happening a whole lot in a Commander game. This card on its own can close out a game really quick. It's one of those cards that as soon as it hits the table, everyone's like, hey, we got to get that off the table right away. It has lost popularity though. It's one of those cards that I saw all the time when I first started playing Commander, and I don't see much anymore, possibly because it became really expensive, right? When I do my videos about Commander staples that I don't really see much anymore, a lot of people will say, oh, well, this card was so popular in the format that it got really, really expensive, so that's why people didn't go after it. This actually has dropped quite a bit in price. It's only about a $17, $18 card right now. That's way better than what it used to be. Again, easily slots into any Commander deck. Still would be really nice to see a reprint of this card. Perhaps they will do so. Coming in at number 2 is Anointed Procession, 3 and a white enchantment. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. Don't think I need to say much about this, right? Any token creation strategy in white is going to want to be playing this card. Whether it be I'm making creature tokens of any kind, which of course there's lots of those decks. I'm making treasure tokens, or maybe I'm playing my Benny Brax deck where I'm making tokens of all different kinds. Of course, it's an auto include in a deck like that. I will say though, we did get Mondrak from Phyrexia, All Will Be One, which obviously does the same thing as Anointed Procession. So you could kind of think of it as a reprint. I mean, it's obviously a different card, but doing the same thing. So at least you do have an option there if you're in that white token theme. Still, I think this card absolutely needs a reprint. It has shockingly never been reprinted, even though it came out way back in Amonkhet. But an even older version of this card, and again, another card that I am shocked it has never been reprinted is Parallel Lives, 3 and a green enchantment. If an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead. So exact same thing as Anointed Procession, of course, but in green. And again, in all those different scenarios, particularly I would say with the creature token theme, there is an absolute ton of commanders in green that are creating creature tokens that probably want to be playing this card. Again, also those other tokens as well. And this card has never been reprinted unless you include the Judge gift cards version, which of course is probably really hard to get your hands on and is even more expensive than the original version. This card was originally printed in Innistrad. That was a long time ago, guys. And I can't believe, especially the fact that this card is such a commander staple, that it has never been reprinted. This is at the top of my list for sure. I talked about this with C21 because they had a very heavy token theme in C21, and I thought that was the perfect opportunity for them to reprint Parallel Lives, and they didn't. Now is your opportunity, guys. Commander Master seems like a great fit for a reprint of a card just like this, or any of these cards on this list would be great to reprint in the set. Of course, they will be reprinting a bunch of commander staples in this set because it is a master set and it's for Commander. How many of the cards are they going to knock off my list here? Hopefully at least a few. You guys can let me know in the comments below, what are the cards that you desperately want to see reprinted in Commander Masters, in particular ones that maybe have never been reprinted before and desperately need one. That is it for today though, and thanks for tuning in.